We are here with Oliver Rajamani, who just wrapped up a fabulous show here. Oliver, welcome to Foundations TV.
Thank you, Yuri.
So wonderful to have you. The energy in the room today was absolutely brilliant and amazing. Can you tell us about Flamenco India? What is it?
So, Flamenco India, shortly put, is a innovative musical journey that goes deep into the roots of Spain's flamenco music. And when I say roots of Spain's flamenco music, we're talking about the people who created it and where it comes from and all that. And so it travels all the way to India, through the Middle East, and it's an innovative project because in this project, Flamenco India, I'm not trying to, like say it's like fusion music, or I'm not trying to take any particular Indian raga and trying to show the similarities or differences, although I do some of that. The main concept of this is to just talk about the continuation of this, the cultural roots of flamenco. When I mean cultural roots of flamenco, the cultural roots of flamenco go beyond Spain. It's not just in Spain. And so I'm bringing the cultural roots from all the way from India, which is a big part of flamenco, and continuing it, that cultural root that came to Spain through the gypsies or the Romani people from India, and continuing it into the modern era, where the modern immigrants of India, people who've come to Americas or wherever and settled, what they're doing. So as the Indian community coming over to the West, it's almost like a continuation of that migration, because the Roma were the first people who migrated out of India. So they're the first Indian diaspora who came out of India. And so today that same thing is happening. So, we're bringing music, culture, knowledge from yoga, meditation, computer, medicine, and all this kind of stuff that's coming over from India. So it's a continuation of that same kind of, in some way, knowledge and musical styles. And so that's really what Flamenco India is. So it's kind of focusing on the Indianness of what flamenco is. That's what Flamenco India is. So.
That's lovely. And where is it from originally, though? Is it from India or is it from somewhere else?
So, when I say Flamenco India, a lot of people assume that, I'm saying that flamenco is from India, or like sometimes,
it sounds like that,
like sometimes people think, when people say, oh, the roots come from, India or whatever, because gypsies come from India, that flamenco itself comes from India. But actually, flamenco doesn't come from India. Flamenco comes from Spain. Oh. It's a musical style that evolved in Spain with three important cultures coming together: the Indian or the Romani culture coming from India, and then the Middle Eastern culture, the Arab, Moorish kind of communities that were already present in south of Spain, and then of course the Spaniards, the Iberian people, the natives of that land. So these cultures came together in southern Spain. But the origin of the real roots of flamenco goes into the Romani culture, or the gypsy community of southern Spain, who were the people who first sang this songs and styles. And it was seen as a very kind of outcast music at that time. And in fact, the Spaniards called the gypsies or the Romani people flamencos. And there's many terms for flamenco where that word originates from, but ultimately they say it means fleeing peasant or foreigner or outsider. So so the Roma were kind of outcasts, and they were not accepted into the society. And as later on the Spaniards became more fascinated with this culture and the styles, a lot of the traditional Iberian or Spanish folk songs, like alegrias and sevillanas and all these kind of styles got integrated into flamenco. So flamenco became fused with that of what we know as flamenco. Um, but if when I say flamenco India, so when I say flamenco comes from Spain, but the people who created that weren't necessarily from Spain, meaning Spaniards. You know, these were people coming all the way from India. So you see in the dance forms, you see in the singing styles, even the scales, which are more Middle Eastern and Indian, and the approach to the singing and the approach to the rhythmic structure. And you'll see it very much in the dance, like Kathak or Bharatanatyam and all these kind of styles. It's very Indian, but it's also very Arabic because at that time the Arabs were ruling south of Spain, and so that music was already, the styles were already present, but not present within flamenco itself. They were a style of their own, like classical Arabic music of Andalusian music, you know. And so the Roma or the Gypsies basically migrating from India, bringing all the culture and the styles and everything through the Middle East when they arrived in Spain, took what was there already also in Spain and basically interpreted it through a Romani form in that manner. So that's really what flamenco is and where flamenco comes from. So it's it's not that there's flamenco in India. There's no one playing guitar and dancing like people in Spain, but you see where it comes from. That's the tradition and the
Yeah.
origins of it.
Yeah.
So
So it's almost like it's a full package. It's not just instruments or just vocal or just dance. It's like everything together. It's like a full, like you seem like a solo performer who's sometimes doing footwork, sometimes playing different instruments, your vocals and your clapping, and it was like a full person sort of covering the entire package of music and dance and movement. So is that what typically flamenco style would be?
yeah, flamenco. So flamenco is a culture. It's not just a music. You know, it's like for flamenco is a spiritual identity for the Romani people.
Okay.
And when I mean spiritual identity, you know, you can take a guitar and sing a song and play it really perfectly.
Yeah.
But that's just music, you know, or a
Yeah.
sound or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
you create it and it's perfect.
Okay.
But you know, when you go into flamenco, and that's what knowing a tradition means, right? Is that it's not just about a bunch of notes placed right.
Yeah.
You know, it's going into the real depth of it, the real being, the awareness, this spiritual path of it, which is beyond just a bunch of notes.
Yeah.
And for the gypsies, that's what flamenco is.
Beautiful.
So you know, like flamenco has become a national identity in Spain today, and a lot of Spaniards want to identify with it. A lot of, you know, it's seen as a Spanish form, very much like blues of America, right? I mean, blues really came out of the African American community, but today it's become known as American music. You know, so a lot of Americans identify with. But if you really want to know the history and the roots of it, you got to go to the Black community of America and know where that blues really came from. It's not a bunch of notes that you can play really well. It's like has a lot of pain and suffering, and that's what flamenco was for the gypsies because they went through a lot of persecution. So it was a way to express, you know. And so today flamenco obviously has become very popularized. So when something becomes popular, it loses that certain depth of connectedness with life in that sense, right? An experience that because it becomes more commercial and people are looking at it more as entertainment and all that.
Yeah.
But if you really want to know flamenco, you got to go deep into the Romani history of their history in Spain and what they went through, and then you can really understand where that originates from.
If I can ask you another question, though, you did play a little bit of a glimpse of the documentary that you are putting together. That was pretty fascinating to see. You've traveled and you've compiled some amazing captures there, and culture glimpses of people and life and the vibe of different areas around the world, and how you've tell us more about that, how you're bringing that together, and what's your mission there.
So the documentary movie is called Romani Lone Star, and it's basically a documentary showing the history of the Roma migrating from India. But there's been a lot of work done on Roma in Europe and their origins from India, but most people have no clue who the Roma are from India. Not much was done. So I went and did a lot of work on that, a lot of research, because now today there's been a lot of research with Indian scientists studying people, their genetics, their language, their culture, and everything within India, and how people moved around within India itself, right? And so I did a lot of work on that. And so that movie kind of really brings, it down to the very roots of who these people are, where they came from, what happened, how they migrated out of India, and then the movies, it's not, even though it's showing a kind of, if you want to say, a racial people, a race of people, ethnic people coming out of India, the movie's not really I'm not trying to connect it with any sort of ethnic group or race or anything. It's more of a spiritual journey for me. It's about human beings. Any human being is taking a journey, in whether it's physically moving from place to place or spiritually within themselves. And so my journey in this movie is obviously looking at the manifestation of the physical world and what we see, and how time and space and how we move within that from place to place, and how we identify with different things, and show the history of these movements and so forth. But also taking it even further back to the real essence of the root, right? Like we trace the roots of, say, flamenco and Roma people to India in the physical sense or whatever. But I want to take it to a spiritual sense of a human being. A human being, we don't know where the human being is, it's like I have a saying which says, wherever you came from and wherever you've been and wherever you will go, you have always been here, and you will always only be here. And so this journey we take, we're moving through time and space, but wherever we go, we are only here. We're never there.
Right there.
We're never here. We're never there. It's only here.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
So that's the whole aspect, or the focus of the journey, is to bring, through the migration of the Roma, showing the migration of the Roma, I'm trying to show that wherever people move, whatever people identify with, it's the here-ness, the isness of the being is what that real root is. Because if you move away from it, it's a delusional aspect that you're moving away from it, because you're always there.
Yeah.
It's just that delusional mind which shows that you're moving, like, oh, I've moved here, I've moved there.
That's the physicality of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the essence is that wherever it is, it's
in the
always
time and the being, and who you are, or where you are. Yeah.
And that's beyond time, space, and everything, right?
I think you created that here too in the event.
Oh, that's good.
You did. Like everybody was like right there, the presence, and I could feel it. It was just, everybody was like there. You had that connection with every single person in the room. It was just beautiful to be there.
That's great.
It really was. That's amazing. We look forward to seeing the documentary. Is it coming out soon?
Yeah, we're hoping to finish it next year. So we have to go to the two countries we're hoping to go to is Mexico and Brazil.
Okay.
Because Brazil has the largest Roma population in the
Americas.
Americas.
I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Okay.
Because a lot of Roma were kind of shipped off by the Europeans to Brazil.
Oh.
Because they tried to get rid of the Roma from Europe, and they didn't know what to do, so they would ship them off to the Americas. So Brazil was one of the big places they ended up in. So we're trying to.
Is that the first time you're going to go there?
Yeah.
Excited?
Yeah.
That's good. Well, we really look forward to seeing the end product. It looks really fascinating right now. I'm sure it's going to be you know, a big part of who you are, and you know, it's you're putting your heart and soul into it. So I'm sure it'll be a fantastic product.
Yeah.
So
Thank you, Gary.
yeah, of course, it was wonderful talking to you. Thanks.